Today's video is a bit of a personal one because I want to share some of the biggest lessons I've learned as a cloud engineer. When I first started out, I honestly felt lost, like I was trying to navigate this giant cloud universe without a map. I struggled, I made mistakes, a lot of them, and at one point I even wondered if I was cut out for this field. But over time, I picked up a few key lessons that completely changed the way I approach cloud engineering. Whether you're just getting started or you're feeling stuck, I promise these 5 lessons will help you too. And hey, if I could figure it out, you definitely can. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get into it. When I started working with the cloud, I made one big mistake. I thought I had to learn it all at once. I opened the AWS console, saw services like Lambda, RDS, and DynamoDB and just froze. Where do you even begin? Here's what I realized. You don't need to know it all right away. Start small. When I began, I focused on just S3 and EC2 on AWS. On Azure, I played around with app service and storage accounts. I set tiny goals, like hosting a static website. The moment I stopped trying to know everything and focused on small wins, I started building confidence. And confidence builds momentum. Every tiny project taught me a little more, and before I knew it, I was ready for bigger challenges. So don't overwhelm yourself. Find 1 or 2 services, get comfortable, and scale up from there, just like the cloud. Let me tell you about one of my worst days as a beginner cloud engineer. I had to manually recreate an entire environment because I forgot some settings from the first deployment. I spent hours clicking through dashboards, and at the end I realized this is madness. That's when I discovered tools like Terraform and Azure Bicep. These tools let you define your infrastructure as code. You write it once, and then you can deploy it as many times as you need. It's like having a cheat sheet for your environment. The first time I used Terraform to spin up a full environment with one command, it felt like magic. I just sat there watching it work, thinking, why didn't I learn this sooner? If you're tired of manual work, start with small automations. Maybe automate creating an S3 bucket or deploying a virtual machine. It'll save you time, headaches, and maybe even your sanity. Alright, confession time. I've accidentally racked up big cloud bills, more than once. One time, I left an EC2 instance running for weeks before I thought, oh, I'll just turn it off tomorrow. Guess what? I didn't. Cloud billing can feel like a trap if you're not careful. But once I started paying attention, I realized it's not as scary as it seems. AWS and Azure both have tools to help you out. I started setting up budgets and alerts, and it completely changed the game for me. Here's another tip. Understand the difference between on-demand and reserved pricing. It's like booking a hotel. You can pay for one night at a time, on demand, or you can get a discount for booking a whole week in advance, reserved. One more thing, don't fall for the free trial trap. If you're not careful, free trials can sneakily cost you money. Always clean up your resources when you're done experimenting. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them yourself. If you ever had to troubleshoot an issue without logs, you know how helpless it feels. I'll never forget the time I spent hours trying to figure out why an app wasn't working, only to realize I haven't set up proper logging. Now, logs and monitoring tools are my best friends. On AWS, I use CloudWatch religiously. On Azure, it's all about application insights. These tools give you visibility into what's happening under the hood. Here's the thing, problems will happen. A server will crash, an app will time out, or a query will suddenly take forever. But if you have the right logs and metrics in place, you can find the issue fast and fix it even faster. Start simple, set up basic logging and monitoring on one app. Trust me, it's a game changer when something goes wrong. And when it's 3 a.m. and you get a phone call because you're on call that week, you'll thank yourself for being prepared. Here's the truth that no one tells you. Failure is part of the job. When I started, I hated failing. Every time I misconfigured something or crashed an app, I'd beat myself up. But over time, I realized failing is how you learn. I'll never forget the first time I wiped out an entire database. Yeah, pause. Yeah, that happened. I was horrified, but that experience taught me two things. One, always have backups. Two, double check your scripts. Now, I treat every failure as a lesson. If you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself. The cloud is constantly evolving, so there will always be something new to learn. Every time you mess up, you're one step closer to mastering the craft. Embrace it, laugh at your mistakes, document what went wrong, and move forward. Remember, failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. And that's it. 5 lessons that turn cloud engineering from something that felt impossible to something I truly enjoy. I hope this was helpful, and if you're ever felt like you're stuck or in over your head, just know you're not alone. I'd love to hear your stories. What's been your biggest oops moment or your most valuable lesson in cloud engineering? Share it in the comments. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you in the next video.